about most of those skill swaps. But we are going to get into our second top 4 match. We will be deciding whether Alan Schambers or Chase Lybbert will be able to compete with Aaron for the championship title. Both of these players, incredibly talented, incredibly skilled players, and threatening both to win the championship here. And you can see they've all got a lot of fans out in the audience as well.
Yeah, everybody's hyped up for these matches, and why wouldn't they be after that last one?
Yeah.
If this match is going to be anything like that, boy, are we in for a treat.
Yeah, I'm already sweating after that last match, and we still have this match and the finals to go. So very interesting matchup here. So we already saw one of our Xerneas Groudon cores make it to the finals on Aaron Traylor's team. Chase Lybbert is our other Xerneas Groudon team on the top 4. He is running that Xerneas Groudon alongside Salamence, Kangaskhan, Smeargle, and Cresselia. As you can see on your screen now, representing Arizona and Southern California. You can see it's Southern and NorCal, all California. Arizona, San Jose, and Utah. So very much an established player in the regionals circuit, but now able to make it to the top 4 in nationals and potentially the championships.
Yeah, so he's got a number of really, really strong regional finishes, a couple of wins, a couple of top 4s, but now he's looking to kind of do the same thing, yet at a much bigger stage here at U.S. Nationals.
All right, and he is up against Alan Schambers, a veteran player. You can see World's top 8 in 2010, top 16 in nationals in 2010 as well, and a runner-up in a regionals in 2012. He's running one of the more interesting teams here, our only Rayquaza Kyogre core in the top 4. He will also be joining those 2 Pokemon with Crobat, Gengar, Mawile, and Thundurus. So some very interesting Pokemon here, especially that Mawile that we haven't seen much of. And of course, Rayquaza Kyogre is a very interesting matchup, one that Chase actually just came from beating.
Yep, definitely. One of Chase's earlier matches in the top cut was against the one other Rayquaza, Kyogre, even Mega Gengar team that we saw here in the top cut. So he definitely was able to beat that, and we didn't get to see it on stream, though we did catch the very end where we saw it was a 2-0, so he certainly had something on his team that was able to deal with this strategy very effectively, and from looking at his team, I think it has to be this Cresselia. It's more of an offensive version, perhaps a bit faster than most Cresselias. Maybe after an Icy Wind, then a Psychic threatens a KO on Crobat and Gengar, especially if that Cresselia can outspeed after an Icy Wind, so that could be the key factor in this match. But on Alan's side, I do want to reiterate that 2010 World's top 8, that's such an incredible accomplishment on its own.
Right.
But at the same time, 2010, that was pretty much the closest we've come to this format. 2010, also a format where you could use these restricted Pokemon, so Alan's certainly familiar with this kind of metagame.
Yeah, very interesting to see how he has adapted and grown here in 2016 with all of the new additions, though, of course, really only using the Thundurus that's come out after 2010 here.
Yeah, his Pokemon have Mega Evolved since 2010.
Along with him.
Along with him. And then he's picked up the Thundurus there. But I'm sure Alan's been keeping up to date so far in this metagame, and I'm sure he's perfectly prepared for what Chase is bringing. I know building his team, he was certainly looking to counter all these Groudons that he expected to face, as he mentioned in his interview yesterday.
All right, well, we are hopping into game 1 here of our other top 4 match. Chase versus Alan. Chase on the bottom half of your screen. Alan on the top. Alan will be leading his Mawile and Thundurus, while Chase is going to go ahead and lead the Salamence and Cresselia. That Cresselia that you've identified as potentially being the key to taking out Alan's team. Yeah,
the only problem here is no Gengar, no Crobat even in sight here. And I think from watching Alan yesterday, did we even see the Mawile or the Thundurus in his top cut games? I don't know if we did, so maybe
definitely
Alan,
not as leads.
Right, so maybe Alan adjusting here, recognizing that maybe Cresselia is the threat from Chase's team, maybe switching things up and bringing out Thundurus and Mawile rather than his typical Mega Gengar Crobat lead.
Have to see if Chase can pivot from this. Salamence is going to retreat, does not want to take any damage from that Mawile, switches out in favor of Groudon, which loves to see Mawile on the field. Groudon going to go ahead and Primal Revert, get that offensive power, get that boost to all of its stats, set the sun as well. Cresselia alongside can do a lot to help boost it, can potentially do Helping Hand, as we've seen in the last game, Gravities, Trick Rooms, etc. Mawile also going to go ahead and Mega Evolve itself on Alan's side of the field. So Mega Mawile on the field. Thunderous choosing to protect, not wanting to risk any damage coming out from Chase's team. Cresselia does go for the Psychic into the protect, so Cresselia already showing that it is going to be a much more offensive variant. With that Psychic into Thunderous, does take an Iron Head from Mawile for its troubles, though.
Yeah, I think Alan recognized that Salamence can't really do much damage to his Pokemon since most Salamence only carry flying-type moves in the form of Double Edge and Hyper Voice after its ability, of course. And Thunderous and Mawile resist both of those. And Mawile, since it threatens play rough on Salamence, you have to imagine Salamence will either switch or protect. And Alan reading that, going for the Iron Head on Cresselia. But you do have to worry if a Rayquaza or a Kyogre comes in that Mawile slot. Thunderous threatens Groudon with hidden power.
Yeah, and it looks like Chase is afraid of that, switching out his Groudon for Xerneas. A very bold switch-in with Mawile already on the field. Maybe hoping that Alan will withdraw that Mawile as he does in favor of Kyogre. So Xerneas does get the chance to match up against Kyogre now instead of the Mawile. So you've got to imagine that the Hidden Power Water coming out here from the Thunderous into that Xerneas, which is great because Xerneas loves to take special attacks and will be basically able to get the switch in for free. Have to see what kind of damage Thunderous can do with this Hidden Power. Is going to go off and connect with the Xerneas, deal just a little bit of damage, about, with 20% of its HP there with that Life Orb as well. And the Psychic coming out from Cresselia trying to deal damage to that Thunderous, does not want to let that Xerneas get paralyzed by Thunder Wave.
That actually did a pretty decent amount of damage, that Psychic. Another Psychic should pick up the KO. So maybe this offensive Cresselia is the key for Chase here in winning this game. I definitely like that Xerneas switch, and you had to imagine that Mawile would switch out, and he called that. It was risky because if Mawile targeted that slot, it would have certainly knocked out Xerneas, but that's such a hard read Alan would have had to make.
Alan will withdraw Thunderous, so Thunderous going back for Rayquaza. Rayquaza switching into a Xerneas is a very scary thing. Will be able to deal a lot of damage. Xerneas, of course, will protect because it's trying to avoid that Thunder Wave from Thunderous. But Cresselia goes for the Icy Wind, catches the Rayquaza on the switch and deals so much damage to it. More than half of its health, gets the speed drops as well on both the Kyogre and the Rayquaza. So Kyogre will be able to Origin Pulse here, and Cresselia avoids it too.
Wow, what a great turn for Chase. A little bit lucky there with that Origin Pulse, but that Icy Wind, look how much damage that did. And not only that, the speed drops allowing Xerneas to then move before either of them.
Without having to waste a turn boosting itself.
But it could actually boost itself now, and Cresselia's Icy Wind would pick up a knockout on that Rayquaza. The Geomancy would move before Kyogre, so it could boost its special defense before Kyogre gets to attack it. What a great turn for Chase.
Yeah, Chase getting everything he wants there. Rayquaza will protect, does not want to let that Cresselia Icy Wind it down. Cresselia is going to get the Icy Wind off, actually moving before the Xerneas here. Going to connect only with the Kyogre thanks to that protect, so Kyogre will lose even more speed. But Chase doesn't mind because Alan does not have that Trick Room mode here. Xerneas is going to get the Geomancy off, will be able to boost both its special attack and its special defense and its speed, and should be able to tank anything that this Kyogre wants to throw at it. So here comes Xerneas, fully boosted now thanks to that Power Herb. Oh, Cresselia avoids the Origin Pulse again. Cresselia just cannot be hit by this Origin Pulse, so only Xerneas is taking damage, and that was pitiful damage coming out from Kyogre.
Thanks to that airlock from Rayquaza, that Origin Pulse hardly did anything, especially after that boost to the special defense. But those Origin Pulse misses on Cresselia were huge because we've seen Cresselia how much of an offensive presence it has in this game, threatening that Icy Wind on Rayquaza. That's so unlucky if you're Alan.
Very unlucky. Cresselia will switch out for Groudon now. So once this Rayquaza goes down, the Sun will be in effect.
Yeah, great switch here.
Really smart switch in from Chase, getting the Sun up after Rayquaza goes down. Kyogre, though, will switch out. Alan recognizes this risk, wants to reset the speed, especially on that Kyogre. Switches in the Mawile, which is a good answer for Xerneas, but a terrible answer for Groudon. Extreme Speed comes out from the Rayquaza, deals a little bit of damage, actually. Depending on how well this Xerneas has been trained, maybe within potential Sucker Punch range from that Mawile. maybe not quite there, but Rayquaza will go down to the Dazzling Gleam, and Mawile actually takes quite a bit of damage on the switch in.
Yeah, Chase definitely knowing Mawile is coming in, whether it's by switch or by knockout and then bringing it in for free. So that's why he brought Groudon in. Great switch. He's just in such a great spot to win. It's going to take some bad luck here for him to lose, but he's already had 2 instances of good luck, so you never know.
Speaking of bad luck, the bad luck genie just showed up on the field. Thundurus can always threaten with that Thunder Wave and potentially, make sure that Xerneas, which has done quite a bit of work, is now unable to even move or attack.
Yeah, at least on the bright side, since you've seen Hidden Power and Protect, it's very unlikely it has Swagger, which is normally what you think of a Thundurus getting very lucky against you, so at least you don't have to worry about that, but still, Thunder Wave certainly possible of turning this game around.
Well, Chase is going to switch out his Groudon so that he will be able to reset the weather. Mawile also switching out for Kyogre, so Kyogre will be out on the field here. If this Xerneas is able to pick up a KO here, Chase will have full control of the weather going forward. Xerneas, though, will just protect this turn, so protecting the Xerneas, getting the Cresselia in. Xerneas trying to avoid that Thunder Wave even still, but getting the Kyogre in, still able to switch around with the Mawile, but Groudon and another Pokemon in the back for Chase.
Yeah, really good protect there from Xerneas. You don't want to let it get paralyzed right there, and he's certainly protecting it there. Didn't let that happen. Bringing Groudon out, knowing that Kyogre, there was a chance it would come in. Maybe he thought a Hidden Power Water would be targeting that slot. It didn't, but at the same time, now he can bring Groudon in, turn that rain off. So Chase still in a great spot.
Yeah, Kyogre switching out on Alan's side for Mawile. Mawile just switching in and out. Trying to protect the damage from Kyogre.
There's a chance for a full para, though.
Thunder Wave is going to connect with Xerneas. Xerneas does not get paralyzed, will get the Dazzling Gleam off, connects with Thundurus and Mawile, and that's so much damage onto Mawile. Mawile's already almost fainted there. Thundurus does go down here, and Cresselia sets up a Trick Room against this Mawile and this Kyogre.
He actually did that knowing that Xerneas would get a Thunder Wave, so
yeah.
Very smart play by Chase, although with just Mawile and Kyogre left and you have a Groudon in the back, the game's probably over already, but still really smart play by Chase, showing he's just reading Alan like a book here.
Well, now that this paralyzed Xerneas is under Trick Room here, maybe Chase wants to go for that 4-0, get that full momentum boost going into Game 2.
Nah, no point just going for the 4-0. Just try and get the win, and Chase will certainly be able to do that here.
Well, Chase is going to retreat Cresselia for Groudon, making sure that the sun gets up as soon as possible, making sure that Kyogre cannot deal as much damage as it would like to, not having access to its water-type attacks. Xerneas going first in Trick Room here. Dazzling Gleam connecting with Kyogre and Mawile. Mawile will go down to that, and Kyogre taking quite a bit of damage as well. And Kyogre Ice Beaming into the the Groudon actually, going to deal a little bit of damage, and even without trying, Chase may be about to get the 4-0 here.
Yep, certainly looks like it. So now each players are probably looking towards Game 2, what kind of adjustments need to be made, what kind of knowledge they've gained. If you're Chase, you've certainly learned Thundurus's item was Life Orb. You saw it has Hidden Power, Water, and Protect, so you probably don't have to fear any taunts from it. And then you also saw, since Thundurus has Life Orb, you have to imagine Rayquaza probably has that Focus Sash, so that's another thing you do have to watch out for.
Yep,
and then if you're Alan, seeing that Cresselia, it did move before Xerneas at one point in that battle, so you have to think, maybe this Cresselia is trained to be pretty fast. Maybe
if it could have hit some of those Origin Pulses.
Right, so you're thinking, if you're Alan, you're thinking, well, if I just replay that same battle, but I hit those Origin Pulses, maybe things are completely different and I win that game. So maybe I don't change anything. But at the same time, he did bring Gengar and Crobat a lot yesterday against these Xerneas Groudon teams. Maybe just by losing Game 1, he instinctively goes back to that. But
that Cresselia is so threatening.
Exactly. It's going to be risky if he does go back to that simply because of the Cresselia.
All right. Well, Chase did take Game 1, so one more win, and he advances to face Aaron Traylor in the finals here. Alan must win these next 2 games to move on. Of course, Chase really showing off how he was able to dismantle some of these Rayquaza Kyogre cores in the past. Have to see if he can do it again. If he does, he will advance to the finals. If he cannot, Alan stays alive in the tournament. Alan not making any adjustments on the leads here, goes for the Thundurus and Mawile, and Chase also going for the Salamence and Cresselia once again.
That doesn't look like either player is going to change anything up, so it looks like Alan still not going for the Gengar Crobat, fearing that Cresselia, which is probably a smart play. But at the same time, he's confident that if his Kyogre hits Origin Pulse this time, he can win that game. So he's just going to try and play the same he did last game. He was getting out-predicted a decent amount last game too, so maybe if some predictions go in his favor, then maybe he just dominates the game and is in complete control. But Chase, he's shown no reason to doubt that because his predictions were on point last game.
Yeah, Chase definitely was playing very well last game. We'll need to continue playing well this game to advance. Alan, of course, no slouch in that department as well, has years of experience playing this game, understands how these chess pieces work. Salamence, of course, will switch back on Chase's side. Of course, still does not want to face down the Mawile, but switches out for Xerneas, which is going to be out on the field now against the Thundurus and Mawile. Mawile also switching out, though. Crucially, neither Pokemon have Mega Evolved yet, so saving those Intimidates for later.
I love this switch by Chase. I'll talk about it after this turn finishes.
Kyogre is going to be out on the field for Alan. Kyogre now out instead of the Mawile up against Thundurus, alongside the Thundurus. Kyogre setting the rain back here on the field. Now Cresselia and Thundurus facing down. Thundurus protecting once again here. Cresselia able to get some work done here with an Icy Wind. Not going to deal damage to Thundurus, but will connect with the Kyogre, will be able to make that Kyogre slower than that Xerneas.
Now, the Thundurus went for a Protect, so it didn't matter as much, but I love that switch because Salamence is faster than Mawile, so it will switch out first. So we saw in Game 1 when he brought Groudon in, and then if Mawile would have retreated the same turn into Kyogre, Kyogre would have been the one to get the rain up since Mawile switched out last. So if Groudon came in again this game in that slot, Thundurus could have targeted that with a Hidden Power Water while switching Mawile out for Kyogre, as he did, and picked up a really cheeky knockout there on Groudon. But Chase, expecting that, even though it didn't happen, gets his Xerneas in, still in a great spot too.
Yeah, Xerneas, though, does still have to worry about the paralysis from Thundurus, although we did see last time he just sets the Trick Room.
Exactly, and we know Thundurus probably doesn't have Taunt since we've already seen its moves.
All right, well, Kyogre will switch out for Mawile, so Mawile now back out on the field, getting the Intimidate off onto both of these special attacking Pokemon. Xerneas is going to protect, again, does not want to take that Thunder Wave before it has to. Thundurus still going for it into the Protect. Cresselia hitting the Icy Wind again, so going to deal some damage back to Thundurus and dropping the speed of the Mawile. Not that much damage dealt to the Thundurus, not quite that offensive, but still very important chip damage to pick up on both of these Pokemon.
Yeah, that was actually a good turn for Alan because it gets him into a spot where if he is able to predict what Chase does this turn, he can pick up a KO or at least paralyze something like a Salamence. So there's a lot of opportunities here for Alan to really take control of this match. Chase
but only
is going
one can
to have
happen.
to be on point here because a switch into Groudon's risky because Xerneas is faster than Mawile, so if a Kyogre comes in again and Hidden Power Water on that slot, that can certainly knock it out. Salamence is risky because Mawile can play rough. If that doesn't KO, then Thundurus can even paralyze it. It's very risky.
Well, it looks like actually the Cresselia is going to switch out for Salamence. So Salamence now back on the field will intimidate the Mawile, crucially making sure that it's not going to be able to deal as much damage as it wants to here. Thundurus also retreating, so both of those Pokemon retreating, the Cresselia and the Thundurus. Kyogre now out on the field for Alan. So switching out the Thundurus for the Kyogre alongside the Mawile. Mawile is going to stay in, going to go ahead and Mega Evolve itself. Going to get the power up here. Going to target down that Xerneas, most likely, depends on what move it's chosen. Xerneas just going for the damage, goes for the Moonblast onto Kyogre, going to deal a little bit of damage, of course, has not been able to boost yet, but goes for the Iron Head. Mawile Iron Head will connect with Xerneas, not enough to pick up the KO thanks to all those Intimidates, but still, good damage onto Xerneas, and that's a very important Pokemon to get low.
Yeah, very good turn for Alan there, not trying anything fancy, just continuing to Iron Head Chase, maybe thinking maybe a little bit of a higher level read than what Alan was thinking, and Alan certainly getting the payoff there, getting that Iron Head on Xerneas. The Salamence, though, at least he minimizes the risk by bringing in an Intimidator to prevent Mawile from KOing it. So even if things went totally wrong for Chase that turn, which they did, Mawile Iron-Headed the Xerneas, at least he can minimize that by keeping his Xerneas around. It doesn't have much HP left, but it's still there. It can still threaten things.
Yeah, and it's still not, and it's not under threat of Thunder Wave right now. So you do see Kyogre is switching out for Thundurus, wants to be able to threaten that Thunder Wave onto Xerneas. Salamence staying in, going to Mega Mega Evolve itself into Mega Salamence, up its power as well. Salamence goes for the Double Edge, no protects coming out, Double Edge into Thundurus. So Thundurus actually taking a lot of damage from that. The recoil coming out onto Salamence, Dazzling Gleam from Xerneas will be able to deal the damage to both these Pokemon, is enough to pick up the KO onto Thundurus. Mawile taking just a little bit of damage back there and possibly able to pick up a KO. Goes for the Play Rough. Is it enough? Oh, goes for the Play Rough onto Salamence. Picks up the KO onto Salamence. A critical hit there.
That's huge because of the Intimidates. I don't think that would have KO'd.
But Xerneas now out on the field. Mawile sitting still very pretty in its green health. Chase does have options in the back, though. Of course, a Groudon would be a very dangerous Pokemon to have out, but Kyogre still hanging around in the back for Alan.
Yep, knocking out Thundurus, certainly good. I don't know if it's worth the trade of Salamence, but still good since it threatens Thunder Wave, threatens Hidden Power Water on your Groudon if the rain is up. So still an okay knockout, but again, you're limiting the amount of switches Chase can do by only having 3 Pokemon left rather than 4. There's not as much room to maneuver around Alan's threat because he can lock down Groudon hard and really punish you if you get Groudon in at the wrong time.
All right, well, Chase opting to go with Cresselia for his partner to Xerneas, while Alan is going to go with Rayquaza to join Mawile out on the field. So Rayquaza and Mawile. Mawile very good against Xerneas, Rayquaza less so. I don't quite recall the extreme speed damage that was dealt, but extreme speed plus Sucker Punch you have to imagine would be more than enough to take out that Xerneas. Of course, the Cresselia has already shown Icy Wind deals about half to that Rayquaza.
That does. And Cresselia, even if it's invested a lot in maybe speed, special attack, it's still a very bulky Pokemon, so it's still
just
tough
naturally
to take down. But I wonder if Alan predicts Xerneas maybe protecting itself and just double targets the Cresselia.
All right, well, if there is a double target onto Cresselia, that could be a very bulky, powerful Pokemon off the field on Alan's side. Rayquaza, though, opting for Protect, does not want to take any Icy Wind damage here. So Rayquaza protects, Xerneas also protects, so Cresselia will be able to deal damage back here. Goes for the Icy Wind, not going to deal damage to Rayquaza, but will hit the Mawile, drop its speed even further, and deal just a little bit of damage here. I have to see what Mawile has decided to do. Goes for the Iron Head into the Protect. So basically, not much of a turn there that happened, but Rayquaza and Xerneas both blowing their Protects. No option for a Protect there now.
Yeah, so not a bad turn for either player. Of course, we saw no damage being done, of course, so maybe that's why. But at the same time, by baiting out a Protect, that makes it so unlikely for another Protect to happen. So Xerneas is threatened by the Mawile, so that helps Alan since it protected last turn. It's very unlikely to protect this turn, but on the flip side, Rayquaza just protected from the Icy Wind.
Right.
That means this turn, it's very unlikely for another Protect, so an Icy Wind can do massive damage.
Rayquaza actually moving first because that Xerneas is very slow, gets the Dragon Ascent off, will be able to KO the Xerneas. So Rayquaza able to get the KO onto Xerneas because of how that Xerneas was trained, not able to move first. Did not get any Icy Winds off, but Cresselia will get them now, dealing a lot of damage. Looks like a critical hit on that. No, just a lot of damage.
Yeah, because of that special defense drop.
That's right, because of the Dragon Ascent. The Icy Wind almost picks up the KO there, drops its speed. Iron Head deals good damage to that Cresselia, but you can just see the natural bulk of it.
Chase is in a great spot here because remember, Kyogre's weakened from that previous Moonblast on it, and we know because of Icy Wind, now Groudon will outspeed the Rayquaza. Cresselia as well will outspeed the Rayquaza, so Groudon pretty safe to pick up the KO on Mawile. Precipice Blades, not perfectly accurate, but you don't want to risk something like Kyogre switching in and making your Fire Punch fizzle out. So I think Chase actually in a very, very good spot to take this match.
All right, well, Chase with his Groudon Cresselia on the field against Rayquaza and Mawile. You know, those Icy Winds coming out from Cresselia have been huge on Chase's side. Not just the damage, but making sure that that speed control is in effect.
Yeah, definitely, because we know Alan, there's a Water Pulse on his Rayquaza, but if Groudon's faster and
it doesn't matter.
Is faster, it's never going to be able to pull it off before it's fainted.
Although, if that... It depends on what kind of moves that Groudon has. If it only has a Fire move and Precipice Blades and Kyogre switches in, it can't do anything against it, but Cresselia should still be able to pick up the KO unless it...
Yeah, Cresselia would still pick up the KO on the Rayquaza. So I think Chase in a very good spot, barring any Precipice Blade misses or anything like that. I think he's set to take this game.
All right, well, Rayquaza is going to protect himself. Psychic from the Cresselia onto Mawile. So going to Psychic down that Mawile, dealing a little bit of damage, and the Precipice Blades does come out, won't affect Rayquaza, but will connect with the Mawile and deal a lot of damage back. Mawile will go down, so Rayquaza on the field should have the Kyogre coming back in here for Allen. But again, like you mentioned, the Icy Wind has been huge, making sure that this Cresselia, this fast offensive Cresselia, can control the state of the game.
Yeah, it was actually kind of risky psychicking that Mawile. Maybe he didn't think Precipice Blades would KO and was just so confident that Rayquaza would protect, in which case it was a great turn for Chase and a great read. But still, he's in a great spot to win here. We know Cresselia will be faster than the Rayquaza, so an Icy Wind will knock it out. Allen's going to need a miss from either Precipice Blades or the Icy Wind.
All right, well, Chase is going to protect. Rayquaza goes for the extreme speed onto Cresselia, just wants to get as much damage down as possible, but that Citrus Berry is going to nullify all the damage that Rayquaza just did. Cresselia's Icy Wind is going to connect, though, so we'll pick up the KO onto Rayquaza and drop the speed of that Kyogre, making sure that Chase's Primal Groudon will be able to move before the Kyogre. Now, Rayquaza faints. Just all down to Kyogre. The tournament hopes for Allen are riding on this Pokemon. The Origin Pulse does connect. Very important on that Cresselia, but Cresselia survives with 5 hit points. And now Groudon and Cresselia, that Kyogre is slower. Groudon needs to hit these Precipice Blades.
Yeah, he needs to hit the Precipice Blade. Since it'll be single target, that should pick up the knockout, but even just in case, Cresselia will be able to Psychic it since it survived with 5 HP.
Or the helping hand.
But
Chase going all out on this Precipice Blades. Here it comes. Groudon gets it, and it will connect. So the helping hand Precipice Blades from Chase's Groudon picks up the KO onto Kyogre. And Chase 2-0s Alan Schambers and will be moving on to the finals to face off against Aaron Traylor.
Oh, that was so well played by Chase that whole entire match. He put himself in the perfect position to win Game 2. Game 1, we just saw him read down like a book, made the right play every single turn. This game, made the right play most turns, but he still set himself up to get that Groudon in, that Cresselia, and threaten the Icy Wind on Rayquaza, lower its speed, just do so much damage to it. And boy, that Cresselia, we talked before.
Get that Cresselia.
We talked before how that would be the key to him winning this kind of matchup, and how we thought it was probably the key for him beating that previous Kyogre team that he matched up against in the top 12, I believe.
Right.
So it certainly showed why that Cresselia was the MVP, because, boy, that Icy Wind, just how bulky it was, even setting up Trick Room as Xerneas got paralyzed. It was just fantastic, that match.
Incredibly well played by Chase, and of course the way that just by existing, it scared off what felt like Allen's comfort leads against these Xerneas Groudon cores. The Crobat and Mega Gengar, they couldn't come in because that Cresselia was just way too threatening.
Yeah, and it was all because of how that Cresselia was trained. Being trained in speed and special attack gave it that opportunity. So even if Mega Gengar and Crobat was brought, an Icy Wind would lower their speed, but then a Psychic, it would just do so much damage because that Cresselia was trained to do so much damage rather than just be super bulky like most Cresselias. It's still naturally bulky even if you don't train it to intentionally be, super bulky. But boy, maybe Chase coming into this tournament thought, well, the only counter to my team is something like Allen's team, Gengar and Crobat. It's not common, but let me just put this Cresselia here, train it this way so that just in case I am in this matchup, now I can beat it, and now maybe I don't have any counters to my team that players have thought of up to this point. So, boy, Chase in a really good spot here to take the finals against Aaron. They're both using similar teams. They both have Cresselia. It'll be so intense and so interesting to see how these two top players play against each other in a kind of mirror match.
But with these tiny little tweaks.
Tiny little tweaks. It's going to come a lot down to those little tiny tweaks, but also the predictions each player makes. And we saw Chase on point this game, and we saw the game before. Aaron was so on point with his predictions too. So both players kind of at the peak of their game, playing as well as they possibly can. I'm so excited for this finals.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a very exciting finals. But let's take a quick look back on some of the highlights of that last round with Aaron Zhang down on the floor.
Hey guys, Aaron Weatherman Zhang here, and today I'm bringing you some top analysis. Thank you to all the fans out there for cheering, but that was a phenomenal top 4 set. I thought, we've seen Allen run through this tournament, and he's used a team that has really had a phenomenal matchup against the Big Six kind of core, right? He's run through so many players with that Groudon Xerneas with relative ease, and we actually saw the Rayquaza-Kyogre combination do so well, winning the Seniors Division today. So let's look at how Chase was able to defeat Allen. So we're going to kick it off with the very first game. Here we have the Thundurus and the Mawile. They were just going to pause real quick there. This is a big, big lead for Allen. Like, Allen has the advantage right from the start here because Mawile puts on immense pressure against Cresselia and Salamence. Salamence cannot do very much offensive-wise to both Thundurus and Mawile. So Allen, starts off with a really, really good lead, and we're just going to kick it off and continue with the clip. So, we do see the Intimidates here. Those don't matter too much. Now, later on in the game, we've got Xerneas and Cresselia out. So Allen was, or Chase, I should say, was able to really maneuver in and out very carefully, getting out from bad positions and swinging momentum back into his favor. So if we play this clip, we do see the Rayquaza come in here. That's when Xerneas and Cresselia are both out. And at this point, Xerneas protects. So what Chase was able to do was get Xerneas into a position where it could set itself up for a Geomancy. We see the Cresselia go for an Icy Wind, and we see how strong that Icy Wind is here. Of course, Icy Wind decreases the speed, but what's more important right now is that Chase is able to get Cresselia and Xerneas out at the same time. And the speed decrease actually matters a lot as well because now, Cresselia can knock out the Rayquaza with an Icy Wind, and Xerneas can potentially Geomancy before Kyogre can use a water-type attack. So moving on, we're going to see that Xerneas here does set up the free Geomancy. So as we keep on playing, Xerneas does get the Geomancy, and that's a big deal in this game. Xerneas functions really well, and Allen had some tools to shut down Xerneas like Gengar and Crobat, but we didn't see any of that. So here Xerneas is in against a Rayquaza and Kyogre, and that's basically ideal. So now Xerneas is able to set itself up, and Chase is in a phenomenal position to win this game. Moving on here, we do see the Thundurus eventually come back in, and the Thunder Wave actually goes on to Xerneas. So one of the best ways to stop Xerneas in this format is to actually paralyze it. So Xerneas now is paralyzed. There is that 25% chance to not move, but if we keep on going, so Xerneas now is paralyzed. Of course, that here is the main threat, but Xerneas now does still have a chance to attack here. So if we keep on playing with the clip, Xerneas does get the Dazzling Gleam off. So no full paralysis there is a big deal. Allen at this point needs to target down that Xerneas, but he unfortunately does not get the full paralysis. So Thundurus faints here, and this is really what basically sealed everything up for Chase. He gets the Trick Room up successfully. The reason why that's such a big play is because now Xerneas being paralyzed, Chase having predicted that Xerneas can outspeed everything even under Trick Room, and we see that Chase has a pretty dominant victory after getting Xerneas in safely and setting up the Geomancy. So Chase, really phenomenal play after what looked like a pretty bad lead matchup. So if we move on to the second game here, once again, we actually have the same leads here. So Cresselia, Salamence, Thundurus, and Mawile. And Mawile really is the biggest threat in this entire set here because of its ability to one-hit knock out the Xerneas. The Intimidate here, of course, is helpful though because it shuts down Mawile's attacking ability and decreases his attack. So if we move on here, it's definitely a really tough start for Chase once again because he's got Cresselia and Salamence. This Mawile looks like such a big threat. So for the first couple of turns, we actually see both players switching out their Pokemon and maneuvering them to try to get themselves into a better position. In that first game, Chase was able to get Xerneas in a perfect position, set up that Geomancy, and then by that point, Mawile wasn't even a threat. So if we keep on playing it here, we actually see Salamence and Xerneas and Mawile and Kyogre. At this point in the game, Kyogre actually switches out into the Thundurus. So at this point, Chase has put himself in a position where he can maybe get a lot of damage off. He's also gotten the Intimidate off against Mawile. That Intimidate is a really, really big deal because Xerneas, as you saw earlier, was actually able to hang on from that Iron Head. So this is a big turn for Chase to get a lot of damage off. He gets the Double Edge off here, targets down the Thundurus, doesn't pick up the knockout, but that doesn't matter. This is one of the first turns where we actually see a lot of damage being done in this game after 3 or 4 turns of passive switching. So Chase here is able to just fully capitalize and get so much damage off, but at what cost, right? Thundurus faints, but Mawile here is able to get an attack off. You see it actually does go for the play rough, and it picks up the knockout into Salamence with a little critical hit there. Not sure how much that matters depending on how the Pokemon are trained there, but Salamence being knocked out means that this is basically an effective trade-off here. So if you're Allen, you're probably pretty pleased at this position. So the game looks like it's in Allen's favor at this point. Now if we go on here, this is one of the biggest turns here. Rayquaza is going for a Dragon Ascent onto the Xerneas here, and actually just picks up the knockout. So it looks really bad right now for Chase because he's got only one last Pokemon, and that's the Groudon. But Groudon, perhaps the best Pokemon to have against Allen's Pokemon at this point. Cresselia is able to get that Icy Wind. Of course, the speed decrease is a big deal because now Rayquaza is slower than Cresselia and Groudon, Mawile also being slower. Cresselia is going to take some damage from this Mawile, but Groudon's going to be able to come back in and threaten full pressure, right? Because if you want to switch into Kyogre, it's going to have to take an Icy Wind if it hits, of course, and maybe some Precipice Blades damage as well. So at this point, Chase has only got 2 Pokemon, his Cresselia and Groudon, but they're really, really healthy, and he's hoping to make some big plays to win this game after starting off maybe a little bit behind. So we do see eventually, the Rayquaza gets knocked out, and in the end, it's Kyogre, of course. That's the biggest threat here, and we've got the Groudon on the opposing end as well. And at this point, it basically comes down to whether Precipice Blades hits or not, a very defining kind of win condition for this metagame. So at this point, you see Chase is actually crossing his fingers, really hoping that he connects with that attack. Kyogre at this point is slower than the Groudon because of the Icy Wind. So we do see the Helping Hand comes out. Probably not very relevant, but it is a matter of whether Precipice Blades hits or not. Groudon hits the Precipice Blades. You see how Chase celebrates. If Chase misses that Precipice Blades, then Kyogre can actually Origin Pulse. And if Origin Pulse connects, knock out the Groudon. Since Cresselia opted not to Psychic the Kyogre, then Alan most likely would have been able to win that game. But Chase was able to win the second game off really smart switches and basically maneuvering with Icy Wind. One of the reasons why Alan was able to dominate the Groudon Xerneas opponents he had earlier in this tournament was because they had Bronzong as opposed to Cresselia. Bronzong relies on Trick Room, but it doesn't have Icy Wind, and we see just how strong Icy Wind from Chase's offensive Cresselia is, being able to almost basically two-hit knock out the Rayquaza and putting the speed in his favor. So Chase ultimately played a fantastic game, despite maybe a matchup that was a little bit shaky, and he was able to make such smart switches. So congratulations to Chase for making the finals, and we'll be back shortly with the finals between Chase Lybbert and Aaron Traylor.